Double game week 28 is proven to be one of the most important game weeks of the season so far. I've got my transfers locked in. I've got my chip strategy locked in. I'm going to reveal all of that in today's video, as well as covering off all of those important hot topics. As always, make sure you do drop a like on this video. Aim for 200. And if you're not already, make sure you are a subscriber. Enough talking. Let's get into today's video. So first up, here is how the team is looking for double game week 28 without any transfers made. 3.4 million in the bank, and the team looks pretty healthy. I've already got Dominic Solanke in for the double, and for those that don't know, Bournemouth have a double game week at home against Sheffield United and at home against Luton. It's absolutely delicious. And Luton, on the other hand, have the other double game week away against Crystal Palace and away against Bournemouth. So those are the two teams you want to target this week, but it totally depends on what your chip strategy is. We're going to come on to that in a minute. The rest of the team looks good. Pedro Porro, obviously, currently yellow flagged, and the expectation is he will miss this weekend, which isn't ideal for my team, especially if we were looking to maybe have him as one of our players for blank game week 29. But again, we will come on to that. But look, the rest of the team looks good, but there is definitely a few transfers that can be made, especially targeting whether they are Bournemouth or Luton players for this double game week. But as I mentioned, that completely depends on your chip strategy. So let's get into that now. So as you saw previously, my game week 28 team looks pretty good, but I only have one double game week player in the form of Dominic Solanke. Now, of course, as I mentioned, we can buy Bournemouth players, we can buy Luton players, but they have completely different directions in which way they're going to take your team. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because of the blank game week 29. So first up, here is how my team is looking for blank game week 29 without any transfers used. Remember, I got one for game week 28 and I would have one for game week 29. So I could add in two players for this team, but as you can see, it's not in a good position. Areola in goal, that's fine. Taylor, not a good option at all. Pedro Porro, yellow flag, no guarantees he plays in game week 29. Son, probably one of the top players to own in that blank game week. And then Ollie Watkins, another essential. Now, realistically, let's say I were to do Haaland to Ivan Toney to get myself one of the top players that week, and I was maybe to sell Foden for a Spurs midfielder like Maddison or a Jared Bowen, then the team looks a little bit healthier, but that would still be my team, and I still would only have 2, 4, 5, 7 players. Then we're starting to get into hit territory. I would have to get -4 to add in another midfielder, another -4 to add in a forward. All of a sudden, I've taken a -8. I've only got 9 players, and I still am too short of those that are free hitting. And I don't exactly have the optimal players. All it takes is Pedro Porro to be completely ruled out for game week 29, and that sets my team back once again. So for my personal team, I have to take a -8 to get to 9 players, and I'm just not willing to do that personally. So what I'm going to do right now is put up the fixtures for the foreseeable future. Now, these are taken from FPL.team, and they are projections from Planet FPL. So these are not locked in stone. The only ones that are game week 28, of course, with the doubles, and the game week 29 blank game week. Beyond that, none of these game weeks are actually locked in. Now, what we can see here in terms of the actual fixtures, the weeks that we need to focus on. Game week 34 is going to be a double game week. Who doubles in that week isn't confirmed, but as of the projections, we have Palace, Man United, Newcastle, etc. And the other one that I want to turn your attention to is the big double in 37. Again, we have no guarantees who are going to double in 37, but we know for sure it is going to be a big double game week. So why is this important? Well, as I mentioned, if you are looking to free hit in game week 29, then as you can see as of game week 28, you should be prioritising Bournemouth players because they double in 28 with really favourable fixtures, and they have good fixtures beyond game week 30 and onwards. So you don't really need to worry about them in 29 if you are free hitting. On the other hand, if you're planning on not free hitting, then Luton are the team that you need to target. Those have double in game week 28, a fixture in game week 29, and yes, the fixtures are bad beyond that, but you can always look to wildcard around game week 30 or 31. Now, for reference, my current chip strategy, as you saw with game week 29, is looking awful. So I'm planning on free hitting in game week 29 to give myself the best possible team. Now, a lot of people are saying the drafts are underwhelming. I get it. But if managers are taking a -8 just to field 9 players, your free hit is already advantageous. So I do think there are benefits to free hitting just because other managers are taking so many points hits just to get to 9 basic players. So with that said, If you're free hitting in game week 29, the assumption is that your team is looking quite good for the foreseeable future. So you won't want a wildcard in 30 or 31. So I'm looking at wildcarding around game week 34 or game week 35. 35 is the preference. The reason being is I can then, once confirmed for double 34, start to dead end my team. So for example, if Man United do get a confirmed double in 34, I can then look to maybe bring in a Højlund, a Bruno Fernandes, knowing that I then wildcard away from them players in game week 35. And what I do like about the strategy is that I would then bench boost in game week 37, knowing that in 35, I can bring in 15 players that are guaranteed to double in that 37, getting the full potential of that bench boost chip. The only downside is, of course, the wildcard being used in 35. I'm only getting 4 game weeks worth of value from it, but I think the bench boost could provide the major value, which kind of counteracts the limited time of it being used. So that is the current chip strategy. Again, make sure you do check out these fixtures, but I will repeat, they are not locked in stone. And my chip strategy right now is a free hit in 29, a wildcard in 35, and a bench boost in 37. But of course, it is team dependent, and there are many other strategies out there. So with that said and done, Bournemouth, Luton defenders are on my priority right now. Yes, Morris is an option to replace Erling Haaland. I get it. But for a manager like myself who is doing the free hit 29 strategy, I don't really want to lose out on a lot of value on Haaland, knowing that I want him back from game week 31 onwards. So for my personal team, I am ruling out Carlton Morris, but I do understand managers that want to do so if they are going for the wildcard 30 or 31 strategy. Likewise, the midfielders, I get it, but I can't really pinpoint a Bournemouth midfielder that is going to start each game of the double. And also, Ross Barkley just does not excite me. So I do apologise if you are fans of Ross Barkley. So I've narrowed it down to these defenders. Now, again, I will repeat, I am going for the free hit 29, so I am focusing on the Bournemouth defenders. But I wanted to put Doughty in here as a bit of a comparison because I know other managers that are dead-ended in 29, so Doughty becomes the obvious move. And when we do look at the underlying numbers, there's no comparison here. Doughty is by far and away the better FPL option. You can see here, bonus per 90 at 0.52 just dominates the other two. And also in terms of expected assists, 0.22 per 90. So once again, Doughty just offers so much more value than these Bournemouth defenders. The thing about the Bournemouth defenders is they are just basic defenders who hopefully will pick you up 6 pointers with clean sheets. And with the fixtures that Bournemouth do have at home against Sheffield United and at home against Luton, I'm not expecting a clean sheet in the Luton game, but I do think there is a solid chance of a clean sheet in the Sheffield United game. Luton, on the other hand, I never get confident about a clean sheet from them, but I do think Doughty's attacking potential outweighs that. So for my personal team, I think Kirkes is a good option, but when I look at the numbers, I would want to see his expected assists or XG through the roof to even consider him, because he is somewhat a rotation risk compared to Zabanije. Zabanije played every minute for Bournemouth. And when I look at the underlying numbers, I don't think there's much between them. So I'd much rather just go for the player that is guaranteed minutes over this double game week and just accept that they're not really offering anything other than clean sheet potential in a double game week. But if you're in a position where you're buying a Luton defender, maybe your strategy is a little bit different. You don't need to overthink it. Doughty is by far and away your best option. And I think he's a great transfer regardless if you want to go for an upside defender in this double game week. So to conclude, for my team, Zabanije is just an obvious move. Kirkes just doesn't offer enough potential based on his numbers. Okay, now time for my double game week 28 team reveal. First up, the goalkeepers. Usually I'll jump straight into the goalkeepers and defenders, but I do think there is a little bit of discussion here because, as I mentioned, I am planning on bringing a Bournemouth defender in, but I also am considering a potential point sit to bring in a Bournemouth goalkeeper in the form of Neto. Now, Neto, I think, is probably the best Bournemouth option outside of Dominic Solanke because when they do keep clean sheets, he is the man who accumulates bonus points and save points. So I do think the ceiling of Neto is actually much higher than that as a Zabanije in the Bournemouth defence. The big decision that I need to make here is there any value in taking the -4 to bring in a goalkeeper? Areola has a really good game this week at home against Burnley. What I'm going to do is put the fixture rotation for both Areola and Dubravka over the next few game weeks, just to give you a bit of an idea on how they will play out. And they rotate quite well. Now remember, I'm free hitting in game week 29, so we can just forget about that game week. But we get the West Ham game for Dubravka in 30 and 31. And then, of course, we play Areola in 32 and 33. The reason why I haven't gone beyond that is because that is then wildcard territory, so I'm not really considering anything beyond that point. The big issue is Dubravka could lose his place soon. There are suggestions that Nick Pope is back in training or some light training, and we can see the end of Dubravka, which means I am then locked into Areola each and every game week, which is fine, but I have no guarantees that I want to stick with Areola long term, even though he is the highest scoring goalkeeper. So one consideration that I have had is maybe doing Dubravka to Neto. As I said, I think Dubravka could lose his position later down the line. And when we put up the fixture rotation for both, it looks quite good, I think. We get the double for Neto this week, which does have the upside. Game week 29, of course, as I mentioned, is going to be a free hit. But then we play Neto for the next 3 game weeks, followed by Areola for that Fulham game at home in 33. And I do prefer the fixture rotation of those two. The big question is the -4 worth it? As of right now, I'm saying no, but I could be tempted. And of course, I will reveal that on the live stream on Saturday morning. But as of right now, I'm sticking with Areola, but I do think Neto is potentially worth it for a -4. Moving into defenders, and surprise, surprise, the plan is to bring in Zabanije for that double game week. Nathan Ake would be the man that does make way. Don't really like him over the next 3 game weeks. He has a tricky fixture in 28, blanks in 29, tough game in game week 30. Yes, there is a little bit of value to Ake beyond that, but who knows? He may be rotated over that period, and it's too much money to have in the team because I do need to free up some funds for a potential Mo Salah move later down the line. So Zabanije coming in, unless we get any sort of real surprise in press conferences, Zabanije will come in for the double, and I just hope he gets 1 clean sheet to pay off the move. Double Arsenal defence, I'm more than happy with. Remember, Raya can't play against his parent club Brentford, but I think Ramsdale is more than capable of coming in and keeping a clean sheet. And I'm hoping this double Arsenal clean sheet will come in once again for another green arrow this week. Next up, the midfielders. And as I discussed already, I'm really happy with what I have right now. Phil Foden in unbelievable form. Is Liverpool away a good fixture? No. Do I foresee goals? I think there could be. Phil Foden is playing too well right now to suggest that he's at any risk of rotation. And if Man City are going to get a result at Anfield, I do think Phil Foden will have to have a good game. So hopefully that will equal fantasy points. So I'm more than happy with Phil Foden, but he could be a make way later down the line for Mo Salah. We will touch on that. Son away against Aston Villa with Villa's injury crisis. I do think that this is a good fixture for him. Bukayo Saka, even a captaincy debate any other game week, but with the double, surprise, surprise, there is another man ahead of ahead of Saka and Cole Palmer at home against Newcastle, who are conceding quite a few goals, even though they did keep their first clean sheet last week. I think that's a great fixture for Cole Palmer. So I'm really happy with that. Garnacho on the bench at home against Everton could bite me, but I just feel way more confident going for this 4 in midfield, knowing that any of them have the ceiling to get double digits at any point. And last up, the forwards. And once again, there's just no moving from this front 3 right now. It is so template, it's unreal, but it's a reason why it's template. They deliver. Dominic Solanke, yes, it wasn't his time last week, but I think it is this week with that double game week. Just don't really see anybody else outside of captaincy, but we'll come on to that in a second. Ollie Watkins at home against Tottenham, I don't think it's a bad fixture at all with Tottenham's defensive weaknesses. And Erling Haaland away against Liverpool. That is the big one right now. I do get it. Haaland to Morris makes sense. You're getting Haaland away against Liverpool, a blank, and then against Arsenal, whereas Colton Morris has a double. Then he plays Forest at home in game week 29. So I actually do get it. But for my strategy, with a free hit in 29, yes, Haaland isn't great away against Liverpool, but do I want him in 30? Give or take, but then I want him beyond that. And I'm going to lose a lot of value in Haaland if I do sell him. So for that reason, Haaland is just staying in my team. It just sounds crazy to do Haaland to Colton Morris. What world are we living in? And I do think Haaland could deliver against Liverpool this weekend. So that is the team. I'm pretty content on the move. Let's move on to captaincy and then we'll finalise the plans and maybe some future transfers. Game week 28 captaincy. No surprises. Dominic Solanke is going to be it for my team. Unless we get any news that potentially he's carrying a knock that's going to rule him out, I just don't see any other option. Could Saka go big against Brentford? Absolutely. But you just always got to back the double game week. And he is going to be so heavily captain Dominic Solanke. For those that are watching right now and maybe their triple captaincy still available, activate it. Honestly, just activate it. I think there are going to be other game weeks where you could use it. Let's say Haaland at home against Luton in a single game week. That could outscore Dominic Solanke, but for me, you've got to play it in a double game week. And there's no guarantees of the doubles later on in the season being as good as they look. We could get a madness and they get dropped elsewhere. I think we play what's in front of us, and a triple captain on Solanke against 2 of the worst teams in the league defensively just makes so much sense. So Solanke is my captaincy 100% this week. And if you were to have your triple captaincy available, I think you do it as well. So my team's pretty set. Ake to Zabanye makes a lot of sense. The only debate is whether I take a -4 to do Dubravka to Neto. I do see the upside. It's just the -4 puts a lot of pressure on the move. I think we will discuss that in my deadline live stream tomorrow, so make sure if you're not already you are subscribed. What I want to quickly do is just run through my moves over the next 3 or 4 game weeks just to give you a bit of an idea, and then we'll wrap up the video. Okay, so last up, as I mentioned, Ake to Zabanye pretty much locked in. Let's make the assumption I don't make the goalkeeper transfer and we just stick with one free transfer. I just want to give you a little bit of an idea of what my team could look like over the next few weeks, but so much can change. So this will be the team, pretty content with it. Coming into game week 29, and again, this is courtesy of FPL Fantasy Football Fix, FPL Google Chrome extension called FPL Plus, one of the best around. So this will be my team for game week 29, as we know, pretty disastrous. So I would activate my free hit. Let's just assume I've made a free hit team here, but we've discussed that already in a previous draft that we'll come on to next week. Game week 30, my team would look okay. The bad thing about it is, of course, double Arsenal defence. So let's make the assumption Pedro Porro is available. It's the only reason why I'm still holding on to him and praying that he does feature. The rest of the team looks okay. Arsenal versus a Man City attack, not great. Now, of course, the big fixture that we need to remember is Liverpool have an amazing game at home against Brighton. Do we know for sure if Salah is going to play? No. Do I want him? Most likely. So I do have a way of bringing him into this team. Phil Foden would have to be a sacrifice. Now, I know you're probably sat thinking, Phil Foden, what are you doing? Well, tell me who else I would sell. Son at home against Luton? No chance. Palmer with future double game weeks? No. Saka? Don't really think I'd want to sell him right now. So I think it does fall on Phil Foden, unfortunately. So Foden out. Do not kill me for it. But Salah would come in with 0.9 million left to spend. And I think getting rid of the Arsenal double defence isn't great. But I just think there is more value out there in Mo Salah. So Saliba would then be the sacrifice. And I realistically would then look to bring in Chelsea's Gusto. I personally don't see Reece James returning to the team anytime soon, especially with the concerns of his injury. And Gusto's playing too well. So the team would look like this. I could have maybe Neto in goal for that -4 in game week 28. But I'm pretty content with the team. And again, so much can change. But I feel like this is pretty close to what a lot of wildcarders would have, and I'm only taking a -4 to get there. So team would look like that, and then coming into game week 31, once again, if Dubravka does keep his place for now, great game at home against Everton. We got Malo Gusto in the team, but he would come out for this particular game week. Pedro Porro away against West Ham isn't the worst fixture in the world. We have a really solid midfield, and of course the front three. Watkins away against Man City, not the greatest. Could I be tempted to do Watkins to Darwin Núñez? Potentially. We will see when that bridge gets there. So outside of that, the team is pretty good. I'm pretty content with that strategy, but a lot can change. We're going to keep it there because I know beyond this point, there's just going to be madness things that happen. But let me know your thoughts on the moves. Salah is coming in 30 or 31 regardless. Yes, guys, okay, that is going to wrap up today's Game Week 28 team reveal. I really hope it provided some value, a little bit longer than usual, but hopefully going into some detail about what you should do with your chip strategy. As always, if you're not already, please do become a subscriber. Hopefully I can provide some value over the next few weeks. And of course, drop a like on the video if you haven't already. I will see you in tomorrow's deadline live stream. Have an amazing day. Take care. Cheers.